what is a Azure Load Balancer and how it works and everything we discuss. In the Load Balancer also there are three types is available. I mentioned internal, external. That means basic and standard, as well as gateway is available. And gateway for backend is a virtual appliance. It's a kind of any third party um, like uh, network performance tools or firewalls or any other devices. If we are using, we can go with the gateway. Normally, it's a web servers and other things workload purpose. We can use the normal, basic or standard load balancer. We can use it. That is the one we discuss, and we discuss about differences between the basic and the standard. These all those things. Blah blah. We already discussed, guys. So if you want again more, and you can refer the last session, and you can get the more idea. Okay. Coming to now, today I'm going to show the Azure Load Balancer how it works is a practically, and we are going to see it. Okay. So for that, for seeing the Azure Load Balancer, we required at least as a like it's a one virtual machine also enough, but it's a distributing the load, how it works and everything. For seeing at least we required two virtual machines. Two virtual machines is required. So that purpose, first of all, I'm going to deploy the two virtual machines. After that, I'm going to deploy the load balancer also, and seeing the output for that. So let's go to the first virtual network I'm going to create it. So virtual network subscription, resource group, and name of the virtual network, VNet 01 like that. And suppose East US2 I'm taken. IP address 10.0.0.16, default one subnet is getting, no problem. And review and created. It's going to creating the virtual network, guys. Just a minute. Next, I'm going to deploy the virtual machines also. Create. So here I'm deploying the web VM 01, web VM 02, like that, two virtual machines I'm going to create it. So no infra, and I require the Windows server, and okay, two CPU and 4 GB enough, and user ID and password I'm providing here, and keep it none. And next disk and next networking. Here VNet 1 and subnet. And here one more point, guys. Um, like let me tell you also. So here standard by default I'm getting, no need to changes. Here it's I keep it. I'm going to keep it none. So next management, network monitoring, review and created, and create it. Same like one more virtual machine we required for distributing the load and how it works. So here I'm creating one more virtual machine. I'm giving the name WebVM 02 East US2 I required. So no infra, Windows, nothing changes. Here I'm providing the name of that user ID and password. So keep it none. Next, next. Here nothing changes. Keep it none. Monitoring, disable, and review and created. Okay, so that two virtual machines is going to deploying, guys. Let's wait for a few seconds. It won't take much time. So here some more details we'll try to understand here when deploying the Azure Load Balancer. Here subscription, resource group, and name of the load balancer, web LB, like that I'm giving. So in which region I want is the East US2. I'm selecting East US2. And what type of load balancer, standard or gateway and basic. Already clearly mentioned standard and basic. So both the load balancer support the internal purpose and external purpose. Internal and external purpose. That means within the organization or the internet purpose. Gateway especially for backend virtual appliance, network virtual appliance. That means firewalls, third-party firewalls, any network monitoring tools, or any other intention prevention systems, or such kind of any network analysis, or it's a kind of such type of tools or virtual appliance if you are using. At that time, we'll go with the gateway. Gateway already mentioned last session. Okay, that is the purpose we'll use it. Even if you select it, it's very differently we can configure here. So front end, okay, something I need to select it, otherwise it won't allow me to furtherly. So that's the reason gateway IP I'm giving that, virtual network and particular subnet, and zone identity we are getting, and static means that private IP address. So that means it won't support the over the internet. It's a within the organization wise, it will support the this load balancer. You can see here we can't attach the public IP address. First thing, and next backend pools, that particular virtual machines we need to add it. But here you can see it's asking the protocol VXLAN, it's a support the protocol, and internal and external purpose same. This is a one external, and external what is the port number, external identifier, and so and so, like very differently we are getting here. Internal purpose so and so port number, both the purpose it's a different port numbers, internal port number and internal identifier, external port number, external identifier wise we are getting like this, guys. So entirely very differently we'll get it here for especially gateway load balancer. So right now I don't require. Let's go to the basic, and here standard load balancer we are going to use it. Okay, these are three things we already discussed, and public and internal. What purpose we are going to use it? I want is a over the internet. So that's the reason I'm selecting the public IP address. Even if it is internal, if you selected gateway, we are getting gateway option. We are getting whenever you select the public, gateway option is a disable. Gateway option is a disable, guys. Did you you can observe here? Okay, so I require the public purpose. And coming to here, there is a two things are again under tier, regional and global load balancer. What is a global? When we're going to use it global? So if you click on here, visualizely, I can show you what Microsoft documentation wise, and you can see here global load balancer when we are going to use it. It's a backend already regional load balancer, and that backend pool of virtual machines is available. And same like another region also, one more load balancer, same backend pools virtual machine. Same like front end, whenever this regional load balancer is down, the traffic route to the this via global load balancer wise, it needs to be get the traffic like this. Whenever you want like this, other region is down, still from other region is providing the services. That scenario only we are going to use the global load balancer. It's a in preview state, guys. This is a preview state. Still, it's not generally available, and it's a preview state. Generally, not recommended to use the for production. For testing purpose, we can do it. Okay, but this is the scenario for using the global load balancer under Azure Load Balancer Global One. This is a purpose, guys, and you can see what they are mentioning. Azure Standard Load Balancer support the cross-regional load balancing enable geo-redundant high availability scenarios. Geo-redundant high availability scenarios. And backend also should be used the standard load balancer. So what is the saying that backend should be standard load balancer supporting to the backend wise. Okay, global load balancer when you are using backend pools, you can add the load balancers only. That load balancer also standard load balancer. Okay, for what is the purpose of this is the one enabling geo-redundant high availability scenario. Geo-redundant high availability scenarios purpose we can use it. What is the saying that incoming traffic originating from multiple regions, instant global failover to next optimal regional deployment, and the load balance load distribution across the region to closest Azure regions, ultra low latency availability, scale up, scale down beyond the single endpoint, static any cached public IP address, global IP address, it's going to use it. Any cached IP address, we are going to use it. Client IP prevention built on the existing load balancer solution with no learning curve. Separate no learning curve here, not required. So totally this is a purpose, and you can see in case of this is a one region, this is a one region, this is a one region, and in case of this load balancer is down, unfortunately, these users also can able to access through this load balancer. So ultra low latency wise, we can use it. Regional redundancy purpose, we can use it, guys. For high availability, cross regional high availability purpose, we can use the global load balancer. But this global load balancer still in preview state. It's not generally not available. That means they are still testing and implementing, adding the new features, or might be different things they are doing. So definitely right now we can't use the in the production, not recommended to use the production. Even you can see, and it's not recommended for production workloads, clearly mentioned here. Understood? So this is about global load balancer, guys. Okay, this global load balancer, this is a one, and this is also internal purpose, we can't use it. Within the organization purpose, we can't use it. You can see here, if I'm select the regional and internal I'm selected, and it's a global won't work. Global won't work. Okay, so hopefully everyone got it what I'm saying. What is a global? Next, IP address configuration here, front end load balancer IP address. What IP address required? We mention is a this is a private IP address going to public IP address going to use it. So here I'm giving the web LB PI is a IP01, like that I'm providing IP version 4 and IP address, and choose the IP address is a create a new, and giving the web LB PIP01, like that I'm giving the name. Zone redundancy will get it, and it's a okay. And gateway load balancer we are not using. Click on add, and the next backend pools, we are going to add the backend pools of two virtual machines. Here backend pool name uh, web pool, like I'm giving, and virtual machines from which virtual network, that is a VNet one. That virtual network is selected, and click on add. The two virtual machines I'm selecting here and adding into the backend pool. Click on save, and next inbound rule and outbound rules, nothing now, we are not going to create it, just review and created. Later on after deploying the load balancer, we will going to create it. Just as a creating the load balancer, it's a review and validation pass, and creating the load balancer. Azure load balancer, standard load balancer we are going to deploying, guys. Okay, And one more thing, it's a network security group we are not using. So I'm going to associate this network security group. Why? Because of I required must and should. And this is a one. I'm going to subnet. Let me check it. I can't use it. I hope. Yes, it's I can use it. VNet one and default subnet. I'm going to associate. That is a one. And I have one existing network security group that is in East2. I'm going to using, and here inbound rules wise I'm creating the two port numbers. I'm going to allow it port number 80 because of web servers is a by default HTTP wise port number 80 and 3389. I want to access the RDB that servers using the public address. That's the reason there is a 2 1. Both the things is I'm going to add it. This number name must be begins it's a so and so allow for my web, like that. I'm giving the name. Click on add. So let's go to the virtual machine. Once this network security group associated to these two VMs only, I can able to access. Why? Because of standard public IP address I'm using. By default, standard public IP address, it won't allow the traffic. Inbound traffic is a block. That's the reason we must and should associate the network security group and allow the rules so that only we can able to access. Otherwise, by default, standard public IP address, it's a block the things, guys. That's the reason. Okay. So here I'm trying to take the RDB of this virtual machine. RDB file it's creating download RDB. So I'm trying to connect it. Still inbound rules wise is not added. I hope. Let's go to check it. Go to networking. Yes, rules is created. I think it's just whenever we associate the network security group, it will take a little bit time to applicable. That's the reason. Let me try one more time. Now I'm getting the RDB. So I'm getting this virtual machine RDB as well as one more virtual machine that is a web VM2. There is a backend already. One more that virtual machine is a up and running and it's a login. And one more virtual machine I'm trying to take the RDB, guys. So here RDB, download RDB and open, connect it. So here I'm providing the username and password. This is also trying to log in. So let's wait for a few seconds. Here we need to configure as a web servers. So and first virtual machine, it's a web VM01. It's trying to open the server manager window. Let's wait for a few seconds. It's loading the server manager. In between time, I'm going to turn off the firewall. Otherwise, Windows firewall, it's going to block that port number 80 and other things. That's the reason. Otherwise, we can create a allow the Windows firewall rules also for allowing the things. So right now, turn off the things and go to the dashboard and add rules and features. Click on next, next, next. So loading, trying to, and here web server IIS. No, not this is the one. Windows web server IIS. IIS means Internet Information of Service. Internet Information Services, guys. So add next, next, next roles. It's a by default roles only. These role services, I'm going to use it. Nothing changes. So in my scenario, so depends on requirement that role services we can change it. Depends on the actual real time. Like generally web server team, like website development team or web administrator team, they will go into what role services depends on the application. They will choose it. Those all those things. Right now we don't require. So just I'm trying to installing the IAS roles here. Same like another server also, I'm trying to install the IAS roles. So this server also already login. Go to the firewall. First of all, trying to turn off, guys. So here public network turn off and private network turn off. Here domain network turn off. Okay, and go to the dashboard, add role and features, click on next, next, next. Here web server IAS roles, add features, next, next, next. Role services also nothing changes, click on next, install it. In the both the servers, IAS roles is going to installing, guys. Let's wait for few seconds. IAS roles is install on this server, guys. Close it, close it. And if you want check it, go to the file explorer and C drive and initpub or initpub www root. In this by default web pages is available. By default web pages is available. If you are hosting the website also, by default you can host it here by default wise. Other than that also, in the web server IS wise, and we can keep it into the D drive or F drive or E drive, like that also we can point out, we can host it our web pages also, our website APIs and other things we can host it. That is a, it's not mandatory to keep it here, but it's a IIS IIS, it's a related tool or console. On that application pool, when they are creating that binding with the, that where my website is a binding, they need to change it, they need to change it. So here so if you want to check it and go to the Windows administrator tool, and in this internet information of services manager, if you open, and here this is a by default website. This is a sites. If you go to, this is a default website. In this default website, if you double click and you can see bindings, click on bindings. It's a port number 80 is a using, and IP address not point out anything. So other thing is a browse is a like advanced settings, and you can see where is a physical path. It's a by default physical path is a system drive C drive, and it's a initpub www root. On that path is a available. It's a define it like this. If you want HTTPS protocol, you want to use it, and you have to binding, go to here and add the suppose you want HTTPS, you can select the HTTPS, but it's asking the like SSL certificate, you need to upload it. You need to already install the SSL certificate. That install certificate you need to select it and specify the where your SSL certificate you need to select it. So that only you will get the HTTPS. You will get the HTTPS, guys. So accordingly, requirement wise, you will choose it. That is what exactly these are the things you can choose it. That host name and URL, that path URL, you can define it here. Okay. Generally it's I never discuss about this part, and you people needs to be learned separately actually, but I'm like some of the like basic things I explain here. Okay, so we can check it where SSL certificate available for this website or not. Go to the bindings and you can check it here, and where exactly path is a point out to this website is a where web pages and everything. Go to advanced settings and you can define it where that path. If you click on this path and you can see that path also, you can change it. That's not a problem. Anytime you can change it. Okay, so everything that that configuration we can see it this place. Okay, so that way we can see it. So here nothing I'm changing, guys, here as it is, but only one thing, by default web pages, that is a one. Go to the this PC and I need pub www root, and this is the default web page. and right click edit. What I'm going to do here, from in which web server I'm getting the traffic I want. So that's the reason web server 1 I'm giving the name here, so that if I'm getting the traffic from web server, I can easily identify, okay, this is a in this image it's available. Okay, so this is a configuration done. And second server, go to here. This is also installation completed. Go to here. By default, web pages is available. Okay, nothing changes. Now go to the load balancer. In the load balancer, this is a one. Already we add the backend pool. So front end IP address. What is the IP address? If you see, this is a public IP address front end we are using. And backend pools we already added to the web pool. Under that, web pool 1, web VM1 and web VM2, it's already added. Okay, so multiple, like pools, backend pools, multiple front end IP address, multiple health probe also we can attach it. Okay, that's not a problem. Okay, so here health probe we are going to create it here for monitoring the load balancer, and in case of any issue, backend pool and automatically detected, and it won't route the traffic to that particular backend pool. That's the reason we're going to use the health probe. So health probe 01, and it's a that protocol and port number 80 and interval. Every 5 seconds it's going to check it. In case of that 5 seconds of time it's not getting the response, two consecutive failures happen. Immediately it will treat. It's a backend pool, it's not healthy. You can see health probe used to check the status backend pool instance. If the health probe failed to get the response from the backend instance, then no connection will be sent to the backend instance until the health probe succeeded again. Okay, so click on add health probe we are creating. Health probe is a deploying in progress, guys. Let's wait for. Okay, and next, load balancing rules we are going to create it. Click on add. Here that load balancing rule web LB rule 01, like that I'm giving the name, and IP version 4 I'm using, and that front end IP address. Okay, that front end IP address I selected. Backend pools, web pool I'm selected, and backend port, front end port number I'm using the port number 80. If you are using different port number and semicolon, and we need to provide it properly, otherwise it won't work. And backend port number also same thing. And here health probe we already created, I'm selecting. And here few things you need to understand. Session persistence. This session persistence, it's a kind of like by default none. And when you use the client IP and protocol means, here there is a backend virtual machines. Backend virtual machine front end load balancer is available. So here front end end user trying to access it, that request hit to the load balancer, the request go to that particular which one available, it will go to the request. So first time it's going to this request to this one VM, first VM it's going. And whenever second time also the request same VM, it should be go, and that is your requirement. Second time also, whenever this user trying to access it, same virtual machine needs to be communicated in the backend pool. Any situation, same virtual machine from that he required the access, or he required the get the response from same virtual machine. In this scenario, we should use the session persistence. Session persistence, what happened? You can see, guys, client IP. So this client IP is the same IP he is trying. The request go to the same VM. If it is a client IP and protocol, same IP and same port number he is trying to access it, the request go to the same VM. That is a way we can configure. If it is any specific scenario you are getting that every user, it's a whenever they connected first time which virtual machine, same virtual machine, from that they need to get the response means, even if you are using the load balancer, and yes, session persistence wise we can use it, and accordingly we can route the traffic to that same virtual machine only. That is a way we can configure, guys. Okay, right now none, and ideally timeout when user trying to access it. In case of this is a down, it keep on checking, and how many minutes is a 4 minutes, ideally timeout. After that, again automatically TCP reset that connection, automatically refresh the thing and automatically connect the thing, we need to enable. These are two options. Okay, so that is a one. Any scenarios depends on requirement, we can change it up to 30 minutes or depends on the requirement. TCP reset, this is the one. And floating IP, when we'll use it floating IP, whenever we are using the backend these two virtual machine for clustering. Like suppose this is a MS SQL server, I'm doing always on cluster, always on clustering. So at that time, we'll use the floating IP address. At that time, if you select the enable floating IP, so that this is a generally for clustering, when you are made the cluster, one virtual IP is a created. One virtual IP created in on-premises, but here virtual IP won't create it. That's the reason we are going to front end use the load balancer as a virtual IP. That is the purpose of this load balancer, especially enable here. Enable floating IP is a enable here, guys. Okay, that is a one more point here, enabled. Okay, so click on enable. Right now I don't require, and disable it and click on disable, and it's a, as it is remaining, I'm following, nothing changes. And validating and add, I'm trying to add means it's validating the configuration and trying to submitting the deployment. Okay, any questions up to now?
Kiran, can we bind using the MAC address in this session persistence?
No.
Is there any option? Okay.
What is the use of MAC address? Why especially?
Or the user, you say now that request go to particular machine, instead of that, can we use the MAC address?
Okay, one thing, anytime like when you are accessing the website, your website is accessing means your MAC address is going to the communicating.
No.
No, in this case, why is it required? Every time it will check the what is a protocol and what is the IP address. Yes.
Oh, yes.
So you won't get the such requirement through MAC IP
Okay.
address. Okay, MAC you won't get it. Only IP address and port number wise only.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, directly two servers is communicating at that time. MAC address, it's going to check it. That is a ARP. Yes,
Yes.
ARP protocol wise it's going to check it, but it's a here two virtual machines is not going to, or two servers is not going to. We are from our end, it's a web browser end user end. Yes, through web browser they are trying to connecting. It's an entirely different scenario, this is a one. Okay,
Okay.
so load balancing rule also is a created. Let's go to the front end. I'm taking the IP address of this is a load balancer IP address and paste it, and I will get the response from any one of these server like web server 1 or web server 2. But right now I'm getting the web server 2. You people can try it's from which server you are getting the response. Let's see. I'm picking the IP address. You can try, and definitely some people will get web server 1, some people from web server 2. Can you please check it and confirm it with this public IP address?
I'm getting from web server one.
Okay, great. Remaining people, from which server you are getting? Web server 1 or web server 2? Guys, Okay. Anyhow, is I'm getting the web server 2, and because of I'm not mentioning web server 2, that's the reason I can say this is a web server 2. And when I getting the web server 1, because of on that website I mentioned the web server 1. That's the reason he can identify that is a web server 1. Okay, that is the way it's a configure the this Azure Load Balancer. Azure Load Balancer, it's a configure like this, guys. We can able to access the through Load Balancer IP address. We can able to access the this traffic. Okay. Any more questions? Any doubts?
I don't have Kiran.
Okay. And even we can integrate with the logs to log analytics workspace. And in case of load balancer any issue and getting the logs for this load balancer related, that is the one thing. And metrics alerts, we can generate the alerts also. We can create a alert here, alert rule. We can create it. Generally, not recommended to from this place created. Generally, centralizedly we can create it, and you can see here any specific metrics or activity log wise or a resource health wise any issue, and we can get the alerts. You can see depends on the requirement. Health probe issue, I require the alert, or something byte count is a 0 I'm getting, and I can create alert. And migrate to from NIC based IP address load balancer so and so, or get health summary of this one so and so, like that we can create a different alerts. Okay, from this place also we can create alerts. And the log analytics workspace integrated and generate the all the logs store into the centralizedly log analytics workspace. And diagnostics settings, in this we can collect the different types of diagnostics. That means what are the diagnostics for load balancer, all the metrics what they mention, all the metrics, and mention the log analytics workspace so that it's going to store into the log analytics workspace. So it's a which log analytics workspace they integrated. We can see from the logs you can click on, and which log analytics workspace we can see it here. But integrating the log analytics workspace, go to the diagnostic settings, add the diagnostic settings, and integrate with the particular log analytics workspace. This is the way we can integrate it. And coming to inbound NAT rules. What is the inbound NAT rule? Especially this is the one available under Azure Load Balancer, standard load balancer only. Standard Azure Load Balancer only, it's available. So any by default NATing rule in the firewall we discuss that backend virtual machine is available, front end is a firewall, and over the internet end user trying to access the firewall IP address to that particular virtual machine. Same like load balancer IP address, using that we can backend that virtual machine, we can take the RDB or SSH, we can take it. That is the way inbound NAT rules, using that we can create it. So click on add, and you can see here what is the saying that what is the name backend, that is a virtual machine or backend pool, totally two virtual machine. So Azure virtual machine means that particular virtual machine we need to select it. Suppose example network IP configuration, that network interface card, and front end IP address, this load balancer front end IP address, and front end port number and back end port number, and we can define it. That's it. So using that we can able to, like now front end load balancer IP address, through that we can take the RDB also. If you define it, front end is a something 8000, but front end, actually front end is a 8000 port number only, RDB we can able to do it. But backend 3389. If it is a Linux 22, like that, it's a we can define it like this. And TCP or UDP and enable TCP reset, and remaining things same thing, like we can do it. So cluster IP address, you want to take it cluster, you need to take the access through load balancer and enable the floating IP address, and accordingly it's a we can able to access it. So totally like this, guys, we can able to access the NATing rules also supported Azure Standard Load Balancer. Azure Standard Load Balancer supported. Understood, everyone? Any questions? You can try to explore. This is a one. This option, it's already I shown you here, but you can try to work on that and understand the things. What is the limitation for that? Okay. Any questions? Any doubts? Let me know. Any more questions? Any doubts from anyone, guys?
No, Kiran.
Everyone clear? Okay. So thank you guys. So today that's it. Today's session, and try to explore it and try to practice it. And tomorrow we're going to discuss about the application gateway. One more type of load balancer and how it works and everything practically we are going to look into that. Okay, application gateway. That's it, guys, today. And tomorrow we'll meet again. We'll discuss the application gateway. Thank you, everyone. Bye.